Mr. Martini, I will let you introduce your staff and then tell us everything we need to know.
Thank you. All right. Can you hear me okay? Yep, there it is.
Loud and clear.
I'm up. Thank you, Chair Allen and council members, for allowing the opportunity to address you regarding the Metro Nashville Department of Emergency Communications. My name is Stephen Martini, and I serve as the director. With me today is our Administrative Services Division Manager, Dwayne Vance, and Assistant Director of Operations, Angela Milliken. Also in the audience, we have Assistant Director of Support, Paul McAllister, Hub Director, Aaron Williams, Davidson County Emergency Communications District Board Chair, Cleo Duckworth, and the board's business manager, Mark Lynham. With regard to services, the Department of Emergency Communications answers both 911 and non-emergency calls for service related to law enforcement, fire, and medical concerns, serving the whole of Metro Nashville and Davidson County. In calendar year 2021, we answered 1.6 million calls for service, with an average answer time for those 911 calls, about 460,000 of that total, in 8.9 seconds. Some members of our team also serve as part of our Field Incident Response Services team, our first team, which supports specific planned events, responses to and recovery from disasters, and partnering with law enforcement to regularly conduct specialized enforcement operations. More than 700 of those events this fiscal year, nearly double any of the previous 6 fiscal years. Some successes we experienced in 2021 include completing a memorandum of understanding with Hub Nashville on November the 16th. The DEC became administratively attached to Hub Nashville, harnessing the power of 311, hubnashville.gov, and the Hub Nashville smartphone app to increase efficiencies to reporting non-emergencies, freeing up our 911 dispatchers to answer 911 calls more quickly. We deployed the ability for callers to text 911 during an emergency in the event that it's not safe for them to speak or they are unable to speak or hear. This yields approximately 100 text sessions each month. We increased the compliance with national 911 call answering standards by 10% or more since 2018. Our department operations is supported by a strong team of competent trainers, eagle-eyed quality assurance specialists, and incident researchers, finance, payroll, and human resource experts, and a proactive and in-tune information technology section to ensure that we have the latest resources available to our frontline personnel to best answer the call from citizens and visitors and support field responders in our combined mission to calm chaos, restore order, and bring clarity to confusing situations. We will be able to operate with the proposed budget for fiscal 23. With the help from the mayor's office and key metro departments, coupled with our long-standing partnership with the Davidson County Emergency Communications District, we continue to identify opportunities to invest in our personnel, our facilities, and supporting technologies to improve the consistent quality response to both emergency and non-emergency calls to the service we currently provide. We are glad to continue our strong relationship with the Davidson County Emergency Communications District, which is providing more than $9 million in operating expenses specific to personnel training, communications technology, public education, recruitment, and a considerable renovation project at our primary dispatch site, which will continue to serve as a sustainable backup location for years to come. We are coordinating with the Office of Management and Budget and the Emergency Communications District to continue providing relevant training to support our mission-critical efforts. Those key challenges include increasing rent costs at our backup facility for the 4th consecutive year, which continues to drive interest around constructing a new primary facility that would be owned by Metro government as part of the proposed public safety complex on Murfreesboro Pike. Maintaining consistent operations of facilities and our personnel if they become compromised that require implementation of remote work solutions, operational and technical redundancies, and technical resiliency. We also focus on answering non-emergency call volumes more quickly through a combination of increasing available staff or decreasing ringing call volumes. I'm glad to coordinate with my colleagues this afternoon to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? Councilmember Druffel, and then I've got one as well. You're recognized.
Thanks very much, Chair. I looked under metrics, and it says you're not meeting your metric goals. 15 seconds. You mentioned 8.9 seconds. Can you help me reconcile that?
Correct. That average is over the year, that midnight shift. Once we get past the 10 or 11 o'clock hour, typically our call volumes for the most part decline. So we are able to meet our call answering standards on midnight shift. And then the slower months of the year, you talk about January, February, when it gets really cold and folks stay inside, that typically decreases our call volume. However, over the bulk of the year, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Right now and on into September, October, as we bring crowds and activities, the call volume pushes almost double what we see in the overnight hours or the winter months, which prevents us currently at current staffing levels to hit those metrics.
Chair, one more quick question.
Yes.
Under emergency communications at a glance, it shows that you're going from 201 budgeted positions to 243. Can you update us as to, have you just been short, or why the additional 42 positions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. 40 of those are dispatchers, to answer that question that you previously asked. We've been analyzing our metrics, our call answering standards for the past few years. I joined Metro in March of 2020. There was an opportunity to kind of sprint to, we need more people to accomplish our mission, but I really wanted to understand what our numbers were. We doubled down and really assessed our call answering process and identified a metric, specifically really through COVID. The March, April months of the initial lockdown reduced our call volume in such a way that we were compliant at or above that 95% call answering time frame. And we recognized in that moment that our call ratio, 911 call to available operator, was about 1 to 7, 1 to 9, that range somewhere in there. And when we hit that ratio of call taker to bringing 911 call, we do meet those national standards. What we see now is that call standard, or that call ratio, skews pretty wildly to close to 1 to 15 to 1 to 18 calls per available 911 dispatcher. So we've made some operational moves to focus available staff to be able to answer those 911 calls as often as possible, but really it's a math problem, and we've got to get closer to that 1 to 7, 1 to 9 ratio, and away from this 1 to 18 ratio we see in the spring, summer, and fall.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. So the similar question was, will this proposed budget then enable you to reach your goals?
Yes, ma'am, we believe
Providing
so.
that service. And then can you just talk a little bit about, there are other budgets that also include funding for the Partners in Care expansion. And I know that we also have a technical assistance grant that is enabling us to look at even a non-police mental health response model as well. So can you speak to how those fit into this proposed budget?
Sure. Those grants are not impacting the Department of Emergency Communications, though the workload will. We don't anticipate at this moment the workload impacting. It doesn't change the fact that we're already receiving those phone calls. We don't expect an increase in the call volume. A call for somebody who may need mental health assistance that a non-law enforcement response would be more appropriate for than law enforcement doesn't add work to us. It just changes which way we dispatch that call. So those projects that we're involved with, we're not receiving any funding from, and we don't expect those to increase our workload.
Great, and you feel able to handle them. I know that's something we're excited to see expanding. Are there other questions? Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned earlier the increasing rent on the current facility. Off the top of your head, or do you have the information of what we're paying per month or per year for that rental facility? And is there any idea of how soon a more permanent Metro-owned facility will be constructed?
We're seeing an increase of about $3,300 each year, and we're in year 4 of that agreement. I think we pay somewhere around $160,000 a year for that rent annually. We will be in the end of that 5-year agreement next year, and we're a bit at the mercy of the landowner of what that may look like beyond. We're in conversations. We've got funded and approved, coordinating with the Department of General Services for a site design for a new facility, also on that public safety complex off Murfreesboro Pike, and we're optimistic that a site design yields an affordable construction project for a future facility on that campus.
Follow-up, Chair. So with us being towards the end of the current lease, if there's no new facility built, are we just going to renew the lease, or is it going to be another 5 years? Are we done?
We would have to renew the lease. I don't know about the term or the length.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you.
Let's turn your mic on. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned decreasing ringing call volumes. Are you doing that through the 40 additional dispatchers, or can you speak to what exactly that does and how you do it?
I'm really glad that you asked that question. This is a partner, really through a partnership with Hub Nashville and Hub, harnessing the power of the website and the smartphone app, utilizing those 311 call takers as well. We are offering visitors and residents, and have partnered with, again, the Davidson County Emergency Communications District Board to put together some marketing material and some videos to the public about utilizing this alternate method to request a non-emergency response for there's graffiti in your neighborhood, or maybe there's a car that's been parked on the street for 3 or 4 days, or somebody stole something off your porch while you were away on vacation, something that doesn't necessarily require that, it's not time sensitive and it's not life safety concerning, to send those requests for response via the smartphone app, via the website. Our dispatchers receive those 24/7, 365. They're constantly monitoring those submissions that we receive online. They're dispatched into the system as they would as though a call were to have come, but a call didn't come. And that allows our 911 dispatchers to remain available for ringing 911 lines while we still receive these requests for service in alternate methods. So that would be one of the ways we're looking for receiving calls for service without actually receiving a ringing phone call to report that call for service.
Thank you. And then just my follow-up question, is it just from what you've seen since you've been in this position, is it prudent for you all to be taking hub calls?
We are not answering calls for Hub. Those 10 Hub call takers are still dedicated and committed to answering Hub calls. We are only taking calls placed to Hub that are specifically identified as non-emergency public safety requests. So we're a corner of it.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Any other questions? Councilmember Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know I never hear from anybody who calls the non-emergency number and gets a fairly quick answer, but I hear it an awful lot from folks where it rings, keep on holding, keep on holding. What are your metrics on the non-emergency number?
Yep, I'm glad you asked that too. Our non-emergency answer times for the past 5 years, let's see, I believe those are, calendar years. In 2021, they were a minute 39 seconds average wait time. 2022 is an average of 2 minutes and 39 seconds wait times. We have a recording on those on that line, stressing a couple of different options. One of those is going to Hub if you feel like you can submit this through the smartphone app or some other way rather than making a voice call. And the other is hanging up and calling 911 if your concern is time sensitive or life safety sensitive. Definitely those concerns that you're having there, which have been brought up year over year here at these budget meetings, is how quickly or well are we answering that non-emergency line, is a main driver of why we're asking for the additional positions this year.
That was a follow-up question. Will any of these new positions help ease that call load?
Absolutely.
Super.
Absolutely.
And one final question, is that number 42 a package? I mean, is that sort of a whole nother shift, or?
They would be spread across our existing shifts. We think that's 5 to 7 individuals per each one of our 6 basically off-day groups.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions? If not, we will thank the emergency communications folks for being here, for working hard on presenting with the budget we can be excited about, and invite the fire and EMS folks up.
Thank you.
We'll get ahead.